It's so awesome to have you with us again.
Yes.
If you remember, we did a shoot with you exactly 2 years ago around your birthday.
Yes.
And exactly 2 years back, we're later.
Yeah.
Should we make this a biennial ritual?
I think we should.
Every 2
Once
years.
every 2 years, we go to a beautiful destination.
Absolutely.
And a beautiful hotel. And we're in
Deal?
Udaipur at the Raffles Hotel. It's a deal. Firstly, it's a deal.
Perfect.
Always a pleasure to shoot with you, darling, with Global Spa. And I think
so
it's, not just the magazine, but also what you're communicating through it is growing from strength to strength. It's really a window into lifestyle, into grandeur, into glamour, and to all things glorious that we love.
Oh my God, tum to rulaoge mujhe. It is so sweet of you. And I have to tell you, everybody in our team simply loves you.
Oh,
and
that's
when
right.
we were coming for the shoot, everybody in the office wanted to come. So I said, no, can't happen.
No, it's such a pleasure, and I'm so glad you chose Udaipur as a destination, specifically this gorgeous property, the Raffles. I've been hearing so much about it. In fact, we have a team back home that's already done a location scout to film here, but I beat them to it. I came here first.
Yeah, exactly. And it's special because this is the Made in India special.
Yes.
And you are the epitome of Indianness.
Right.
And your movies reflect that so beautifully. So I'm going to ask you, as a trendsetter, you have completely changed the way Indians wed now. The song, setup, clothes, location, all are on point. How do you welcome the encouragement that our Prime Minister is giving to the campaign Wed in India, and what will be your top 3 recommendations?
Well, I am completely in favor of our honorable Prime Minister's, kind of plea to everyone to wed in India, because I don't think that culturally, traditionally, beautifully, there is a more culturally rich country than ours. And look at the beautiful spaces and cities and properties that India has, not just in terms of its heritage, but also in terms of just our hospitality, the love that we have to offer, which is in our DNA. And so when the Honorable Prime Minister spoke about all weddings coming to India, I'm so glad that the Ambani family took the first massive step and had their beautiful wedding in Jamnagar. And I myself am a huge propagator of people getting married in this traditionally rich country of ours. And every time I feel like people tend to travel out of the country, they sometimes forget that they are leaving home, which is where their heart truly is and where the fabric of our nation resides. So I'm so much in favor of it, and I'm so glad that weddings have also been part of the DNA of our movies. Dharma Productions pretty much has tried very hard to project, and if you notice that all our weddings in the movies have always been very traditionally rich, right up to Rocky Rani Ki Prem Kahani, where we actually chose Rajasthan again as a destination for the final wedding set piece in the song Kurmai with Ranveer and Alia. And here I am in beautiful, rich Indian attire at the Raffles property in Udaipur, and saying very strongly that please wed in India. Please make sure that all your beautiful weddings and your rituals are actually deeply embedded in the fabric of our nation.
Fantastic. And Rocky and Rani, congratulations. That was such a great movie.
Oh, thank you.
Really loved it.
Thank you. Means a lot.
And the
Thank
whole
you.
nation loved it. The world loved it. So, how have you seen the Bollywood industry change over the years? What major shifts or trends have you observed in Bollywood films making? How do you think films are evolving, and how is your role in it?
Well, I won't speak about my role because I'm just trying to kind of keep up, I think, and remain relevant with our times. I think so much is happening. There's a huge shift in our cinema. And a large part of it is actually, I would attribute to the digital revolution that is taking place. What has happened is, with the advent of streaming services doing such incredible work, there's been a huge surge of great writing, of great talent. And I think Indian cinema has hugely benefited from that revolution. So I think we're telling better stories because there are better storytellers that are getting platforms now. Our writers have been empowered, storytellers have been empowered, writers' rooms have been empowered. Great actors are now in the forefront, leading digital shows and now leading feature films. So because the writing has really, truly, I would say, exponentially become stronger, our cinema, therefore, is bearing the fruits of it. I feel in the last, if you just take the last 5 years or last 7 years, some of our stories have been more varied, have been vast in terms of just just traveling through the landscape of emotions, of action, of tentpole films. Just if you see, last year, while we had a Pathan and Jawan, leading the foray, the massive success of Gaddar, we also had the traditional family film in Rocky Aur Rani, and we had the beautiful 12th Fail, which I believe was the best film of last year. 12th Fail tells the struggles, the trials and tribulations of the UPSC exam. Now, who'd imagine in the same year, you began the year with Pathan and you ended with 12th Fail. And that shows the gamut of emotions and stories that our country, and not just that, with also the massive success, the films in across the country, like Malayalam cinema. Let's take a beat and talk about how strong that cinema is. Back to back, there have been 4 feature films made in Malayalam cinema that have actually broken not just worldwide records, but have been embedded in like huge critical acclaim, starting with Premalu, going into Malumal Boys, going now into The Goat Life, going into the mavericks of Malayalam cinema, Tamil cinema, Telugu cinema, Kannada cinema, with what happened with KGF, and also the beautiful stories in Marathi cinema and Bengali cinema and cinema across the country, and the short film revolution. We have young dynamic filmmakers telling beautiful short stories that have done immensely successful at festivals across the country. We have voices that are now resonating in Lionsgate, in Sundance festivals, at the Cannes Film Festival, the Venice Film Festival. Our storytellers, filmmakers are everywhere. So we're trying in our own tiny way at Dharma Productions to, kind of evolve with the times and also remain relevant to the times. So I think Indian cinema is heading back into its golden period again, which we left back in the 40s and 50s, and now we're revisiting, and I'm proud to be part of this entire movement right now.
And you're doing diverse stuff, right? From a Rocky and Rani to smaller movies as well. That's fantastic. In your opinion, what are the essential qualities that make a film successful, both critically and commercially?
Well, I wish there was a formula. There isn't a formula. There's no way that I could give you a PowerPoint presentation on how to make a massively successful film. I think it comes with belief and conviction first in the storyteller and the filmmaker who want to tell the story. I think it comes from their core conviction. So that is first. I think your conviction in telling the story, believing in it, that you won't kind of second guess yourself or try and cater to a certain aspect of, acceptance. You just follow your gut. That's conviction. Second is the comfort that the filmmaker and the storyteller has in telling their story. He or she has to have the comfort with the right actors, the right talent that can project those beautiful stories. So talent, I would say, is secondary. And lastly, I would believe is how the film is promoted, projected, presented, and platformed. That's very essential. There are many great stories, many great films that unfortunately don't get positioned right, and therefore lose an audience that may not even be aware of it. So I would say these would be the 3 pillars where I think successful films stand on.
And you're, of course, the master of all 3. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from your experiences in Bollywood, both personally and professionally?
The first thing is that you cannot be deluded about your failures. You have to embrace them, you have to envelop them, and you cannot be in denial of them. So the very first lesson I learned very early in my stage is that you have to be accepting of your failures, learn from them, and then move on. I would say the other learning I've really had is people management. I believe that a filmmaker's job is 90% handling people, 10% being talented or telling a story. Dealing with people is not easy because everyone comes with their own insecurities, sometimes egos, sometimes complexities, and I feel that you are the leader of your beautiful ship and the captain of your beautiful ship. But while you are the leader, you can't be a dictator. You have to be a democratic, very inclusive person when you lead a team. So I think the other thing is allowing people to express their opinions and not being completely, stuck in your own way. And lastly, I believe that the most important lesson that I've picked up is creating goodwill for yourself. Being good and being kind comes easily, I think, but I think people sometimes rarely exercise that. I think it's very easy to be kind. It's very easy to be polite with people you work with. It's very a good morning every morning, a good night every night, a hello with a smile. It doesn't take a lot. Not always worrying about yourself, but worrying about your team, worrying about the team making the film. Those go a long way. So I think kindness, gentleness, goodness, and creating a goodwill for yourself is the other integral aspect that I believe very strongly in.
Nice. Your talk show Coffee with Karan became immensely popular. What do you think was the key to its success, and do you have any favorite moments from the show?
Several moments. But I would say that the film, the show Coffee with Karan is a large part of who I am today. I think the reason it does very well is because the guests that come on the show mostly know me really well and closely. So it's like a voyeurism that actually works, because you feel like they start speaking to you like the cameras are not rolling, they're not conscious of the camera, they speak to me candidly because they know me candidly. And so I think the ease in the conversation, the comfort that they have, the trust and faith they put in me makes the conversations very candid, you know. And I think the candidness, the candor, the irreverence, sometimes just the openness of the chatter and the chat and the conversations have truly made the show what it is. Favorite moments, I would say several, but I think this season, the opening episode with Ranveer and Deepika truly struck a chord, not because it was very different from the syntax of Coffee with Karan. It actually touched upon a different aspect of like all our personalities, Ranveer's, Deepika's and mine. And I think we not just spoke about our own, you know, insecurities and our emotions, our deepest emotions, but also made it very accessible to everyone who was watching it. That will remain one of my most favorite moments. And of course, every time I've had Shah Rukh on the show, it's been spectacular. He hasn't visited us in the last 2-3 seasons, but we're hoping the next season I can convince him, rather beg him to arrive.
No, we're waiting for the next season very avidly. Can you share some of the most challenging aspects of balancing your role as a filmmaker, producer, and a television personality?
Well, they're all three different. When you direct a film, I have to forget that I'm also the producer and the studio owner. I have to believe that I am not worrying about, I mean, I shouldn't worry about like the optics of budgets and I always say I leave that to, you know, Apurva, who's the financial leader, the CEO of our company, the spine of our organization. And I was like, you know, let me just direct the film. Let me not get into the day-to-day financial modalities, you know, because that can come in the way of my creativity. So I try and keep that separate. But when I'm wearing the studio hat and I'm a producer, then of course all the commercial optics, all that come into play, you know. And so then I have to balance that. As a talk show host, that's my downtime. That's a hobby for me. It's like really when like I take a gap between movies and I find a space where I can take 3 months off and do the show, I do it. So it never comes in the way of the other two aspects, which are very strong in my life, that of a producer and that of a director.
Yeah, it shows that you really enjoy doing it.
I love it. I love it. I feel like if I don't, it'll come through.
So how would you define your own cultural identity?
When you mean cultural identity, you mean what I was like to be as an Indian?
Exactly, as an Indian.
I'm so proud to be an Indian. I'm so proud to be born in this vast, culturally rich land, a land that we can tell a million stories and still not having told enough. I'm a huge believer of also the traditions. Let me also say that while we're all evolving and accepting modern society, and of course being progressive and being woke and, you know, kind of going with the times, there are some aspects of our upbringing that are deeply embedded in the tradition of our rich country, that of respecting our parents, of respecting our elders and forefathers, that of teaching the right manners to our children, that of being hospitable, which is really in our DNA. And I love that some of these aspects are truly traditionally Indian, and I think they are authentically us, and I'm proud that we take it wherever we go with us. We travel with our emotions on our sleeve, and I like that we are sometimes overtly emotional, we are hyper emotional, sometimes a tad melodramatic, but we don't keep it within ourselves. Someone asked me, you know, that how come you have 13 days when, you know, when a family member passes away? And I was like, well, I believe that certain rituals in our beautiful country they come with an emotional purpose. The reason we take a 13-day, you know, of rituals and family coming across, because it actually gives the family time to kind of, you know, deal with the loss. Similarly, and the opposite of death is life and marriage and relationships. So when we have the marriages that we have, I mean, where in the world do you do marriages like Indians do?
Exactly.
The Sangeet now, for example, now is like literally traveling even across the world, which was traditionally a North Indian phenomena, is now not only across the country, and all the other states have accepted, embraced it, but even the world. I see the Western world watching our weddings, and the clothes and the rituals and every part, and I love it. I love it when I go to a wedding, and from the haldi right up to the pheras, all the dholki and the nach Gana family, I just feel like the color of our weddings is brighter than any other culture across the world. So these are the aspects that make me proud to be a proud Indian.
So as a leading filmmaker, what do you suggest to amplify the reach and lure of the heritage monuments of India?
Well, I think absolutely visiting them, and if you're allowed to, platforming them in our cinema would be so beautiful. There is still so many aspects, so many properties, so many monuments in our rich land, our beautiful country, that we haven't yet positioned beautifully on celluloid. Even now, if you go into the heartland of our nation, if you go to even pockets of Rajasthan that we haven't been to, or Kerala for that matter, in the beautiful West Bengal, even parts and Maharashtra, where really I believe that we haven't visited. And as a filmmaker, I think it's our responsibility to go across the country before we try and travel the world to show beauty, because there is beauty in the world,
Absolutely.
but there's so much beauty in our country. So I would say that we encourage our filmmakers to actually shoot in our, and now what is wonderful is that so many states are offering so many incentives to filmmakers, to come, and they want to embrace us and with open arms, and we want to take those invitations, because we believe platforming this great nation is not only just going to benefit our economy, our tourism, but also let the world see how beautiful our country is.
So how has been your experience staying at the Raffles Udaipur?
Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic. I got in yesterday, and I have to say kudos to the team at Raffles. The hospitality is absolutely impeccable. The property is stunning. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful blend of cultural and modern. And I would say from the food to the service, the hospitality and the warmth, it's pretty much all like 100 on 100, if not more.
Wow.
And I'm just
very happy.
And I'm just so happy that I got to come here, visit this beautiful property, do our spectacular, hopefully, photo shoot that we began our morning with. And I'm glad that we went with this theme of going completely Indian and going completely royal Indian and culturally Indian, and Eka Lakhani, who's our stylist, and the entire team that worked on the photo shoot, from Alim and Rohan to all your entire team and Global Spa to Hype, everyone who came together to kind of tell this Indian story. I think I am very grateful to them, and we have some spectacular designers that we have positioned, some of the finest in the business, and all of them have contributed to making fashion a billion-dollar industry. So I think that our designers are just doing such incredible work that I'm on a daily basis, I feel so proud of how fashion has emerged as such a force even in our nation.
Right. And now my favorite question. 3 reasons why you love Global Spa.
3 reasons why. I always say the 3 G's for Global Spa. I say grandeur, I say glamour, and I say glory. And I think those are the 3 G's, and I like the 4th G, Global Spa, and there you had, voila, probably the strongest lifestyle voice we have.
Thank you. And I'd like to tell you something. Global Spa is a completely made in India magazine.
Right.
And it's the first Indian lifestyle magazine to go global.
Wow.
With the Middle East edition.
Yes.
And hopefully next year we plan to foray into another destination.
Well,
so we believe in India totally.
Well, may the force of that always be with you, and may the power of being able to travel parts of our country and world, but keep it authentically Indian, always be with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.